Jahara Malik, there are many times court proceedings, you'll be sitting there smiling and laughing with your family members and showing no remorse for taking my nephew's life. It's not a laughing matter to us. It never has been. It took all we had to stop from jumping across that thing and doing something to you. It will always be a fact that you are a murderer. You are a demon seed that your parents brought into this world to bring suffering on everybody else. Shame on them. When you go to prison, your life will be controlled by the prison guards and the inmates. Your dignity will be taken away from you. You will have to shower and urinate and defecate in front of other inmates. You'll probably get beat up because you're slick mouth and your attitude. There are a myriad of different things that can happen to you in there. And you know what we're going to be doing? We're going to be cheering and saying, yeah, she deserved it.
A 17-year-old boy runs out of a stairwell, clutching his chest on December 20th, 2024, at 11 p.m. in the night. He has time for just 2 words. Jahara, don't. The blade has already pushed through his hoodie, his shirt, his muscle, his fat, clipped a rib, and entered his heart. 1 inch deep. That is all it takes. Researchers who study domestic violence have a name for the days and weeks after one partner tries to leave. They call it the separation period. It is the most dangerous window in any abusive relationship. The 17-year-old running across that garage was 8 days into his, but the woman he was in the relationship with made the decision to drive a blade into his heart, the very heart she claimed to love. His name was Yahkeim Lollar. They called him Keimo, but he did not know he had 8 days left. Why? And how did nobody see what was coming? To answer that, you have to go back, not to the night of December 20th. Further, back to a hallway inside Miami Northwestern Senior High School, where a junior in a football jersey walks to class with a transcript his teachers brag about behind his back. They do not tell him they brag. They do not want to embarrass him. Yahkeim Lollar carries straight A's in subjects most of his classmates struggle with. He plays running back on the school's football team. He is the kind of student-athlete recruiters write down on lists for later, hoping to poach him before other teams do, and definitely before the white-collar jobs come calling. He has told his mother, Nathalie Zhang, what he wanted to do with his life. He has said it out loud, which is the most fragile thing a teenager can do. He wants to work in finance. He wants to be a stockbroker. He has named a future, and that future was paying attention to his every move, because being an A student isn't an easy class. Now look at the girl walking next to him. Her name is Jahara Malik. She is also 17. By every account from the people who knew her, she is charismatic, intense, the kind of girl whose presence in a room rearranges it. A court-ordered psychologist will later determine that she is carrying post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and anxiety that nobody around her has fully named. She is not yet a defendant. She is not yet a headline. She is a teenage girl in love with a teenage boy, and she does not know what to do with the size of her own feelings. Neither does anyone watching her. She is also, though no one has the language for it yet, escalating, like a case in a police file with many links. Sometime during the relationship they had a fight, and what she did not ought to have sent all alarm bells ringing, because the first signs of an abusive partner are always subtle. But for Malik, it was extreme. She picked up his phone and broke it. She didn't threaten to throw it in water, didn't threaten to throw it away, as majority would do. The same device they used to communicate became the expression of her anger. People hear about it, friends, family. The story moves through in circles around them, the way these stories always do. First, as gossip, then as drama. As something that happened to a phone, not as something that happened to a relationship. The phone gets replaced, but nothing else changes. After the issue had been settled, Yahkeim got another phone, and the relationship continued. But like most teenage relationships, another argument occurred and phoned. She breaks his phone again, This time, a number is starting to form. Phones, in the lives of teenagers, are not just phones. They are nervous systems. They contain everyone, every conversation, every place a person can be reached. To break someone's phone is to break someone's access to the world. She does it twice. Then she does it a third time. 3 phones, broken in fits of rage. Prosecutors will eventually count them in court, one by one, the way you count laps. Each time, the people around her treat it as a story. Each time, the people around him treat it as a cost of being with her. How does a mother know her son's device was destroyed, yet does nothing about it? Was Yahkeim's mother an abusive type too? Or was she a survivor, who felt Malik could change as time goes on? Before December, before the garage, Jahara had picked up a knife. She chases Yahkeim with it. They are, witnesses will later say, just playing around. The official term is horseplay, the same word that the defense will reach for more than a year later, in front of a judge. The same word that nobody who was in the room ever questioned at the time. She held a blade. She ran after him. He laughed. She laughed. The knife went back wherever knives go in apartments where teenagers live. The story closed, forgotten as being merely part of a game, but never will anyone have thought or considered it as a form of rehearsal, yet nobody calls it what it exactly is. Before Yahkeim, Jahara had once threatened her ex-boyfriend during her argument. She said she wanted blood. Not just any blood, his blood. A normal human being demanding for the blood of the one she loved without being a vampire, he told friends. The word spread around, yet no one reported it, but the friends remembered. The memory sat in a drawer until prosecutors went looking for what kind of person they were prosecuting, and the drawer got opened. That is 3 data points, 3 phones, 1 knife, 1 sentence about blood. The shape of them, laid out on a table, is impossible to miss. The problem is that they are never on the same table. They are scattered across different rooms, different friend groups, different memories, different shrugs. The system that interprets warning signs in this country is not really a system. It is a collection of people who each see one piece and assume someone else is seeing the rest. Yet nobody is seeing the rest. What happens when violence is rehearsed in plain sight and the people watching call it love? Before we walk into the answer, let me ask you something. The case you are watching tonight is not famous. It did not become national news. The name Yahkeim Lollar does not appear in most of the year-end true crime summaries. His family did the hardest part themselves. They stood outside a Miami courthouse and refused to be quiet until the system moved. The reason you are hearing his story right now is that someone decided his name was worth saying out loud. If anything in this video has hit something inside you, do that for him. Subscribe. Share this with one person who needs to hear it. Drop his name in the comments, because it might just serve as a warning to young lovers who find themselves in this position, yet don't know what to do. Families like his do not. The silence after a verdict is the most dangerous silence in this country, because it is the silence in which the next victim becomes a statistic before they have even been hurt. Do not let that silence happen here. Stay with us. In early December of 2024, Yahkeim Lollar tells Jahara Malik that he does not want to be in the relationship anymore. His mother, more than a year later, will say it in court, with a clarity that grief sharpens rather than blurs. She took my son's life because he was honest with her that he didn't want to be with her. He told her the utmost truth. He did the thing this country tells teenagers to do, which is to be honest about what they want. He did not yell. He did not disappear. He named the end. He gave her the dignity of being told that he can't continue to be threatened. But 8 days later, he is dead. 8 days. Write it down. 8 days is not a metaphor. 8 days is a calendar window with a name, the separation period. The window inside which a person being left is, statistically, more dangerous than at any other point in the relationship. The window inside, which advocates tell people to stay with someone else, change their routine, take any escalation seriously. But Yahkeim did not change his routine. He did not stay with someone else. He was at the apartment building where he lived, in the 6100 block of Northwest 6th Court, in the Liberty City neighborhood of Miami, on a Friday night, 8 days before Christmas. She came to see him. It is a few minutes before 11 at night. A surveillance camera mounted outside the apartment complex captures her arriving. She is smiling. That image will play, more than a year later, in front of her mother's face looking grim during the proceeding. Inside the building, cameras followed them into one of the stairwells. They were climbing, joking. They looked, on the footage, like exactly what they are. Two teenagers in a relationship that has not yet detonated. At one point, Jahara glances toward a security camera and smiles directly into it. A small, deliberate moment. A girl noticing she is being watched and posing for the watcher. The audience for that smile, eventually, will be a courtroom. Lollar could have been thinking of taking her back. They reach the parking garage. The camera angle changes, and the camera in the garage does not capture what happens between them in the moment the knife comes out. Jahara had been to the parking lot several times and had studied the layout quite well because the camera captured only what happened after the stabbing. Yahkeim Lollar runs into view, clutching his side. He moved the way a person moves when his body has told him something his brain has not caught up to. He disappeared behind a wall, then Gaunret. A second later, Jahara turns the corner in the same direction. Jahara, don't. The audio is faint. Investigators will clean it later. The cleaned version will be played in open court. The words are unmistakable. A boy saying a girl's name, asking her to stop, already in the sound of it, not believing she will. Then the scream. A pocket knife enters his chest, third rib, left side. 1 inch deep. Prosecutor Kristen Rodriguez will later describe the layers it pushed through. Hoodie, shirt, muscle, fat, rib, heart. 6 layers. 6 chances for it not to be fatal. 6 reasons that nothing about this is accidental, however many times the defense will say it was. To imagine how evil the heart of human can be, Jahara called 911. She called 911 for the same person she intentionally stabbed in the heart, and without remorse. Officers from the City of Miami Police Department arrive shortly after. Their body cams will record her speaking calmly to them with blood on her hands.
Okay. I had the knife, but
Were you guys arguing before that?
no, we was just over here fighting, and then
So fight you.
So you guys are arguing?
yes, and then we wasn't arguing, we was just like play fighting and stuff. And that's when he was making me mad, and that's when I had the knife right here, and then he ended up running to it. But I'm not thinking because he already knew I had it. He was trying to get it from me, but he ended up running to it.
She told them the version of events she will repeat for the next 15 months. They had been playing, and the knife had come out as a joke. She said she never knew it would go wrong. Yahkeim Lollar is transported to Jackson Memorial Hospital where he dies. He was 17 years old. He had named a future out loud. The future, in this case, does not survive him. Now here is where you would expect the arrest. This is the part where, in most true crime stories, the system moves. The girl was at the scene. She had blood on her hands. She was the only other person there. She had also given a statement. But to our surprise, the arrest does not come. Not that night, not the next day, not the next week. Days become a week becomes 2. 2 becomes 3. The calendar turns past Christmas. It turns past New Year's. Jahara Malik is at home, sleeping in her own bed. For the people who loved Yahkeim Lollar, every morning starts with the same impossible fact. Their son is gone. The person who was with him when he died is not in custody, but rather living a very normal life for months. This is the moment the family does something almost no family knows how to do. They refuse the silence. Natalie John stood outside the Miami-Dade State Attorney's office. So does Yahkeim's father, Darvid Lollar Sr. So does his aunt, Zeldrina Beecham, who is a sworn deputy with the Miami-Dade Police Department. They are not a protest movement. They are a family with photographs and signs, and the only weapon a victim's family ever has, which is the willingness to keep standing in front of a building until someone inside the building cannot pretend not to see them. Imagine raising a kid who's a good kid, an honor student, an athlete with a bright future, And then someone just takes his life away. She says on camera. She says it again. By then, the local news picks it up. The pressure on the state attorney's office began to shift. On January 28, 2025, more than a month after the killing, Jahara Malik is arrested. She has no priors. 3 days later, she is moved from juvenile court to adult criminal court and charged as an adult. Her bond is set at $50,000. She is fitted with an ankle monitor. The system, finally, has begun to do what the family asked it to do. But the question remains. Why wait for the family to protest before the wheel of justice kicked in? Why did it take months when the footage was clear who culprit was? The family has now learned something this country teaches the people who lose someone. The system moves only when it is pushed. Yet the pushing falls on the people who are already broken. On March 16, 2026, 15 months after her boyfriend's death, Jahara Malik walks into the Richard E. Gerstein Justice Building in downtown Miami and pleads guilty. She pleaded guilty to manslaughter, not murder. And this is where I get confused. Because murder involves premeditation, and the prosecution believed she had not planned to take Yahkeim's life. For someone who took a knife knowing fully well what it was and found a blind spot where the cameras can't see, not to be convicted of murder. She pleaded guilty to carrying a concealed weapon. She does not take a plea deal. She lets the judge decide her sentence. That decision is its own confession. Defendants who plead open with no negotiated deal do so when their attorneys believe contesting the evidence would make things worse. The surveillance footage exists. The audio exists. The pattern of prior aggression exists. The wound is too deep, too forceful, too direct to call accidental in front of a judge who has seen it. Nathalie Jane speaks to reporters outside. It's bittersweet. It took a year, 2 months and 26 days for her to acknowledge or even hold accountability for what she did to my son. The sentencing is set for May. On May 5, 2026, Judge Christine Hernandez's courtroom is filled up. Yahkeim's family wears shirts with his image on them. His friends carry his photograph. The hallway outside the courtroom cannot hold everyone who came. The proceedings pause more than once because grief is making the room ungovernable. 2 women leave when the surveillance video plays. The knife is shown. The family speaks. The aunt, the sworn deputy, addresses Jahara directly.
It will always be a fact that you are a murderer. You are a demon seed that your parents brought into this world to bring suffering on everybody else. Shame on them.
Yahkeim's friends read a letter. Our friend should be here. He should be living, growing older, graduating, going to prom. Jahara stands in a black suit. When her turn comes, she speaks briefly. Every day I sit and think about the damage I caused. The family wants me in prison, but I'm in my own prison for the rest of my life. Judge Hernandez addresses her.
Heard from the families, having heard from the doctors that testified, the court imposes the following sentence. At this time, the court will adjudicate you, Ms. Malik. The court will sentence you to 17 years in Florida State Prison, followed by 5 years of reporting probation. Special condition of that probation, you will have to go a mental health evaluation and abide by any treatment if necessary. You will have to write a letter December 20th of every year that you are on probation, acknowledging what had occurred and how it has affected your life. And I do not take this sentence lightly, Ms. Malik. This is not something that this court wanted to do, but I have to impose a sentence that I believe holds you accountable, recognizes the severity of the offense, and is something that's appropriate in light of everything that I've heard.
She says she does not believe it was done in an unsophisticated manner. She says the force required, the depth of the wound, the prior pattern, all of it makes the defense's accident theory impossible to accept. The family had asked for 30, the maximum. The defense had asked for boot camp. The judge landed in the middle. which is what judges by training are taught to do. 17 years for a 17-year-old life. Now the math. 3 phones broken before. 1 knife raised in fun before. 1 threat to an ex-boyfriend nobody reported. 8 days between an honest breakup and a fatal stabbing. 6 layers a blade had to pass through to reach a heart. 1 inch of penetration. 2 words on a cleaned audio recording. 40 days between the killing and the arrest. 15 months between the arrest and the plea. 2 months between the plea and the sentencing. 17 years for the future that was taken. That is the official number. That is what the state of Florida says justice cost. The real number is harder to write. The real number is the future. Yahkeim Lollar named out loud and was punished for naming. The college degree. The first job at a brokerage. The Sunday phone calls to his mother that will never happen. The wedding he will not have. The children who will not be born. His mother knows the real number. So does his father. So does his aunt, who has spent her career responding to other people's worst days and now has to live inside her own. And here is the irony. The court has ordered Jahara Malik to write a letter every year on December 20th. A letter acknowledging what occurred. A letter reflecting on the damage. For years, for every anniversary of his death that falls inside her probation, she will sit down and write to a court about a boy who will never be older than 17. He will not age. She will. The letter will get easier. Or it will get harder. Either way, she will be the only person doing the writing, because the only other person in that garage no longer has a hand to hold a pen. That is what this case teaches, if it teaches anything. The system did not fail. The system, in the formal sense, succeeded. It investigated, it charged, it tried, it sentenced. What failed was older and quieter. It was the willingness of everyone who saw a phone get broken to call it what it was. It was the willingness of everyone who saw a knife get raised to call it what it was. It was the willingness of every adult in the orbit of 2 teenagers to take 3 data points and assemble them into a shape before the shape assembled itself in a parking garage in a knife wound 1 inch deep. Nobody did that. Nobody is required to. This country has not yet made a law for the kind of seeing that catches something before it finishes. 8 days before Christmas, 2024, a 17-year-old boy ran out of a stairwell clutching his side, said 2 words, and ran out of time. Justice came later. Everything came later. Everything except him. Somewhere right now, in another city, another teenager is breaking another phone. Someone is watching. Nobody is calling it what it is. We will be there when the silence breaks. Stay with us.